By the time I noticed the SUV behind me, I was already too far from anywhere I could get help quickly. I used to close a small movie theater on weekends, and that meant leaving after the last customers were gone, after the lobby was cleaned, after the popcorn machines were shut down, and the cash drawer was counted twice. It always felt strange walking out into the parking lot after hours because the building behind me would still be glowing, all those bright posters and glass doors. But the rest of the world looked abandoned. Most of the nearby businesses closed by 10. By midnight, that whole area felt like a set after everyone had gone home. That night, I left just after 12:30. I remember being tired enough that every motion felt automatic. Unlock the car, toss the bag in the passenger seat, start the engine, pick a podcast I won't actually listen to, pull out of the lot. I wasn't scared. I'd done the same close probably 100 times. The SUV was parked near the edge of the lot with its lights off. I noticed it only because it was facing the exit, not the theater. It looked like it had been sitting there waiting for something. But again, none of that meant anything on its own. People linger in parking lots. People pick others up. People waste time. I pulled out and turned onto the main road without giving it much thought. A few seconds later, headlights came on behind me. The SUV left the lot too. I still didn't panic. Not then. The road out of that shopping area funneled everyone the same way for a while, and there was a 24-hour pharmacy up ahead. It could have been anyone heading there. I adjusted the mirror once, saw a dark SUV, maybe black or dark blue, and kept driving. Then I passed the pharmacy entrance. The SUV passed it too. A mile later, I took the turn toward my side of town, the quieter residential route that cut between a row of warehouses in a stretch of undeveloped land. It shaved 10 minutes off the drive home, but at night, it was awful. Barely any traffic, long dark sections, no open businesses, and almost nowhere to pull over except a closed storage facility and a church lot that stayed empty after evening services. The SUV took that road with me. That was the moment the air inside my car changed. It's hard to explain unless it's happened to you. Nothing physical touches you, but your body reacts like danger has already arrived. My spine went stiff. My grip on the wheel tightened. I looked in the mirror once, then again, then kept checking every few seconds like I couldn't stop myself. The SUV stayed 3 or 4 car lengths back. Not too close, not falling away, just matching me. I told myself to test it. At the first 4-way stop, instead of continuing straight toward home, I turned left toward the industrial park. There was absolutely no reason for anyone to go that way at that hour unless they worked there, and none of those buildings were open overnight. The SUV turned left. A cold wave ran through me so hard it made my face feel numb. I picked up my phone and called my coworker Melissa because she had left only 15 minutes before me and lived on the same side of town. It went to voicemail. I called again. No answer. I thought about calling 911, but my brain was still trying to cling to normal explanations. Maybe the driver lived out there. Maybe there was a warehouse shift I didn't know about. Maybe if I made one more weird turn, they'd keep going and I'd feel stupid for the rest of my life. So I made one more turn, then another. The SUV matched both. There were no other cars around us anymore. Not ahead, not behind the SUV. Just the two of us moving through rows of dark buildings and chain link fences. Sodium streetlights threw that sick orange glow over everything. And every time I passed through one, I could see the shape of the SUV fill my mirror and then slip back into darkness again. I finally called 911. The dispatcher answered immediately, and the second I heard another person's voice, I realized how scared I actually was. I told her a car had been following me since I left work. She asked where I was, what kind of car, whether I could see the plate. I tried, but the SUV kept just enough distance that the plate blurred in the glare. Do not drive home, she said. Stay on the line with me. Head toward the nearest police precinct or a well-lit public place. The nearest station was too far. The nearest public place was a truck stop off the highway about 8 minutes away. 8 minutes sounded impossible. I told the dispatcher where I was heading and kept driving, talking too fast, breathing too shallow. She asked if the vehicle was still behind me. Then I saw the SUV's headlights switch off. Not turn away, not disappear around a corner. Just switch off. For a second, all I could see was darkness in the mirror. I felt something close around my chest. The dispatcher was asking what happened, and I told her I couldn't see it anymore. She said to keep driving and not stop for anything. I looked left and right at every side road, expecting it to reappear from somewhere else. The industrial park gave way to a longer, emptier stretch bordered by scrub grass and unfinished construction, the kind of place where buildings had been planned but never came. No streetlights for a while, no houses, just road. Then my headlights hit something ahead. A dark SUV parked sideways across one lane. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like I had missed a step in the dark. It was the same vehicle, lights still off, driver's door open. I swerved into the opposite lane and flew past it. As I passed, I saw a man standing outside the open door, half lit in my headlights. He wasn't waving. He wasn't pretending to need help. He was just standing there, facing the road like he knew I'd have no choice but to come toward him. The dispatcher heard me start yelling and told me officers were being routed to intercept, but her voice was far away now, under the sound of my own pulse. I looked back once and saw the SUV pulling onto the road behind me again, only now it was closer, much closer. He stopped pretending after that. The SUV accelerated until it was almost on me, bright lights filling every mirror, then dropped back, then surged again. Once it edged partly into the other lane like it was thinking about pulling alongside. I kept both hands locked on the wheel and drove faster than I ever had on that road, not caring if I got pulled over, only caring that I reached the highway before he did something worse. The truck stop sign appeared ahead like something unreal. "You, too bright to belong there." I shot into the lot so fast my tires squealed. There were semis parked along the outer edge, fuel pumps lit up, 2 pickup trucks near the building, and at least 4 people visible through the glass inside. Normal people, witnesses, light, noise. The SUV did not follow me in. It rolled past the entrance slow enough that I could see the driver turn his head toward me. He was smiling, not wide, not crazy, just calm, like this had gone differently than he wanted, but not by much. By the time police arrived, he was gone. I gave them everything I could remember, but it felt pathetic the second I said it out loud. Dark SUV, man in his 40s maybe, ball cap, light skin, medium build, nothing unique enough. Nothing that would bring them to a door. One officer stayed until my dad came to pick me up. Another followed while I drove my car home the next morning after sunrise. For a few weeks, I convinced myself I had done the right things in time, and that was why nothing happened. Then the theater manager called me into his office. He looked uneasy before he even spoke. He said one of the exterior cameras had been glitching, and when the security company reviewed the footage from that night, they found something they thought I should know. The dark SUV had not arrived after the last movie ended. It had been parked at the far end of the lot for almost 2 hours before I walked out. And 23 minutes before I came outside, a man in a ball cap had approached my car, crouched beside the driver's side door for less than 10 seconds, then walked back to the SUV and waited. The police checked my vehicle after that and found a small magnetic GPS tracker hidden underneath the frame. Whoever followed me that night did not choose me at random. He had picked my car before I ever stepped out of the building. And if I had driven straight home like I almost did, I wouldn't have been leading a stranger to my address. I would have been delivering myself to it. I knew something was wrong before I ever saw him. It started with that feeling you get when the night around you stops feeling neutral. I'd been at a friend's apartment across town helping her move furniture until way later than either of us planned. By the time I left, it was after 1 in the morning. The city wasn't completely dead, but it had thinned out enough that every sidewalk looked longer, every parked car looked occupied, and every sound carried farther than it should. I parked 3 blocks from my building because the street right outside was full, and at first, I didn't think much of it. I'd done that before. The area wasn't great, but it wasn't the kind of place where you expected immediate danger just from walking home. I got out, locked the car, and started down the sidewalk with my keys already in my hand. I noticed the man because he was standing too still. He was across the street near a bus stop bench, not sitting, not checking his phone, not smoking, not doing anything people normally do when they're waiting around at night. He was just standing there in a dark hoodie, facing the road like he was watching traffic that barely existed. I looked once, then away. You learn to do that. You notice people without appearing to notice them. I kept walking and told myself not to create a story where there wasn't one. He could have been waiting for a ride. He could have lived nearby. He could have been nobody. Then I crossed at the corner. A few seconds later, I heard footsteps behind me. At first, they were far enough back to be dismissible. Someone else walking home. That was all. But when I slowed near a broken patch of sidewalk, the footsteps slowed too. When I sped up, they sped up. not dramatically, just enough. I glanced into the dark window of a parked car and caught a reflection behind me. Same hoodie, same pace, same side of the street. My apartment was still 2 blocks away. I told myself not to look back directly. Maybe that sounds stupid, but I didn't want him to know I knew. Some part of me believed that as long as I kept things normal, nothing bad would happen. So I kept walking, trying to act like I was texting while my phone screen showed the emergency keypad. There were people in my building, but the front door lock had been acting up all week. Sometimes it caught right away, sometimes it didn't. The thought of standing there fumbling with my keys while someone walked up behind me made my stomach turn. So instead of heading straight home, I kept going past my block. The footsteps kept going too. That was when the fear stopped being abstract. It became physical. My mouth went dry. My shoulders tightened. I could feel the exact weight of my bag pulling on one arm and the shape of the key between my fingers on the other. Every small detail became painfully sharp. I passed a laundromat with the lights off and dark machines lined up inside like rows of empty faces. I passed a corner store with its security gate pulled down. I passed an alley I usually never noticed, and all I could think was how easily someone could drag me into that darkness before anyone heard anything. I finally looked back. He was maybe 30 feet behind me. Not close enough to touch me, close enough to make it clear he wasn't accidentally walking the same route. The worst part was his expression. It wasn't angry, it wasn't drunk or wild or even obviously threatening. It was focused, calm, like he was waiting for me to make a decision. I turned right without signaling it, cutting through a narrow side street toward a row of duplexes. I didn't live there. There was no reason for me to go that way. I just needed proof. He turned right too. I started calling my roommate, Jenna. She didn't answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. I thought about calling the police, but I was still trapped in that useless hesitation people talk about later, the part where you're afraid of overreacting even while your body is telling you the truth. Then I heard him say something. His voice wasn't loud. That almost made it worse. "Hey." I kept walking. "Hey," he said again, a little faster now. "You dropped something." I hadn't dropped anything. I knew I hadn't, but the instinct to stop and check was so automatic it nearly got me. I actually half-turned before catching myself and forcing my feet forward. That was when his footsteps sped up for real. I broke into a run. The sound behind me changed instantly. No hesitation. He ran too. I screamed before I even meant to. Just one loud, ugly sound torn out of pure panic. I ran toward the nearest house with lights on, a downstairs unit with a TV flickering blue through the curtains. My bag slammed against my side. My keys slipped in my hand. I could hear him gaining on me, shoes slapping the pavement hard now, not hiding it anymore. I cut through the small front gate, stumbled up 2 concrete steps, and started pounding on the door with both fists. "Open the door," I screamed. "Please, open the door." The footsteps behind me stopped. I turned just enough to see him standing at the edge of the walkway. Not winded, not bent over, just standing there, staring at me from a few yards away. The porch light came on above me. For 1 second, we both froze in that yellow light. I saw more of him then, mid-30s maybe, thin face, no beard, hood up, one hand in the front pocket like he was keeping it warm or hiding something. The person inside shouted, asking who was there. The man smiled. It wasn't wide, it wasn't theatrical, it was small and private, like we were sharing a secret. Then he turned and walked back toward the sidewalk. The door opened behind me and I nearly fell into the apartment. An older woman stood there in a robe, furious and half awake until she saw my face. I told her someone had followed me. She pulled me inside immediately and locked the door. While her husband came from the back room with a baseball bat he looked embarrassed to be holding. We watched through the blinds. The man never looked back at the house. He just walked to the corner and disappeared. Police came about 15 minutes later. They drove around, took my statement, asked if I knew him, asked if maybe he had mistaken me for someone else. They were polite, but I could hear the uncertainty in their voices. No assault, no weapon shown, no direct threat. Just a man who walked where I walked, ran when I ran, and stopped when a door opened. Jenna finally answered while the officers were still there. She'd been asleep with her phone on silent. She met me downstairs and walked me up to our apartment, where I locked every lock we had and pushed a chair under the knob even though the door opened outward and the chair would have done nothing. I barely slept. At around 10 in the morning, Jenna left for class. I called out sick and stayed home, sitting on the couch with the curtains cracked just enough to watch the street. A little after noon, someone buzzed the building. I ignored it. A minute later, there was a knock at the apartment door. Not loud, not aggressive, just 3 measured knocks. I stood in the hallway without breathing. Then a man's voice came through the wood, calm and familiar. "I think you dropped something last night." I didn't move. I didn't answer. I just stood there until I heard footsteps retreat down the hall. When I finally looked through the peephole, no one was there. On the floor outside my door was my keychain. Not my keys, just the keychain itself, the small rubber moon that had torn off my ring while I was pounding on that stranger's door. I had never gone back outside to look for it, which meant he had picked it up while I was screaming for help. And somehow, by noon the next day, he knew exactly where I lived. I made the mistake of taking the same route home for almost a year. It was never something I thought about. I worked late at a medical billing office downtown, and by the time I left, the city had already emptied out. My drive back was automatic. Same garage, same exit, same gas station with the flickering sign, same 4-lane road that narrowed into a quieter stretch just before my neighborhood. I liked routines, especially at night. They made the dark feel manageable. That was probably how he learned me. The first time I noticed the truck, it was parked across from the convenience store where I stopped for water. An older pickup, faded red, dent in the rear panel, driver sitting inside with the headlights off. I only paid attention because the store windows were bright against everything else, and when I walked back to my car, I could feel someone watching me. I looked over and saw him in profile, ball cap low, one arm up near the wheel, just sitting there. It unsettled me, but not enough to mean anything. People sit in parked cars all the time. I got in, locked the doors, and drove away. When I checked my mirror a minute later, the truck pulled out too. I remember the exact excuse I made for it. He probably just stopped at the store too. That explanation lasted maybe 3 turns. I took the ramp toward the residential side of town. He took it too. I turned left at the light by the closed bank. He turned left. I slowed slightly to see if he would pass. He slowed too, holding the same distance behind me, not close enough to feel aggressive, not far enough to ignore. The road ahead was almost empty. No cars coming the other way, no one walking. Just long patches of streetlight and dark between them. I kept checking the mirror and telling myself I was making a pattern out of nothing. Then I turned onto Ashmore, a street that led nowhere useful unless you lived there. The truck turned onto Ashmore. That was the first moment fear really got inside me. It's strange how quickly your body knows. 1 second you're thinking, maybe, maybe not. The next, your hands are cold, and your heart is beating so hard it feels mechanical. I remember swallowing and realizing my mouth had gone completely dry. I remember locking my doors even though they were already locked. I remember the way the truck's headlights filled the back of my car every time we passed under a street lamp. I didn't want him to see where I lived, so I kept driving. Ashmore curved into a section of older houses with deep front yards and barely any porch lights on. I made a right, then another right, then circled back toward a main road. The truck matched every turn with this awful patience, like the driver knew I had already figured it out, and there was no longer any need to pretend. I grabbed my phone and called my older brother Nate. He answered on the 3rd ring, groggy and annoyed until he heard my voice. I told him there was a truck behind me, and I thought I was being followed. He stopped sounding tired immediately. He asked where I was. I told him. He said not to drive home, not under any circumstances, and to stay on the phone while he left his apartment. He lived 20 minutes away. That felt useless. I asked if I should call the police, and he said yes. I should have done it right then. Instead, I hesitated. I was still stuck on the stupid human urge to avoid embarrassment. What if the truck turned off? What if I was panicking over some guy heading the same direction? What if I wasted police time because I couldn't handle being alone at night? Then the truck flashed its high beams once. Just once. Not because of traffic, not because of the road. It was deliberate. A signal. My brother heard me go quiet and kept asking what happened, but I could barely answer. I made another turn quicker this time, and the truck came with me. I could see more of it now in the mirror. Extended cab. Rust along the wheel wells. Front grille slightly crooked. The driver was still just a shape. "I'm coming to you," Nate said. "Head somewhere public." There weren't many options. Everything in that part of town closed early except a 24-hour gym near the highway and a laundromat farther east. The gym was closer, so I turned toward it. The truck stayed behind me until I hit the light at Mason. That was where things changed. Instead of stopping at a normal distance, the truck rolled up right behind me, so close I couldn't see its headlights anymore, only the wash of light around my rear windows. I heard Nate saying my name over the speaker, asking what was happening, and then I saw the driver's door open. A man got out and started walking toward my car. He wasn't running. He didn't need to. The way he moved made it feel rehearsed, like he had done this before. He wore jeans, a dark jacket, and the ball cap I'd seen earlier. I still couldn't make out his face clearly, but I could tell he wasn't old. Maybe 40s. Solid build, calm. The light was still red. My brother was shouting now, telling me to go through it, and I did. I jerked into the intersection just as the signal changed, tires chirping against the pavement. A horn blared from somewhere to my left, but I didn't care. I looked back once and saw the man standing in the road, watching me drive off before he got back into the truck. Then he followed again. By the time I reached the gym parking lot, I was shaking so badly I could hardly steer. The place was lit up, and there were cars out front, which should have made me feel safer, but the truck slowed at the entrance and didn't come in. It just rolled past. I nearly laughed from relief. I parked right under the lights and sat there with my phone pressed to my ear, breathing too fast. Nate was still talking, saying he was almost there now, saying I should go inside and stay with people until he arrived. I unbuckled my seatbelt and reached for the door. Then my dome light came on. There, on the passenger seat beside me, was a folded piece of paper. I know with absolute certainty it had not been there before. For a second, my brain refused to process it. I just stared. White paper, folded once, resting neatly on the seat where my bag had been earlier. My doors were still locked. The windows had stayed up. I had not opened the passenger side once all night. My brother kept asking what was wrong. I could barely get the words out. When I finally picked up the note, my hand was trembling so badly the paper made a dry, rattling sound. Inside were 7 words written in blocky black letters. Check your back seat next time. I don't remember screaming, but Nate said I did. I threw open the driver's door and stumbled out into the parking lot so fast I hit my shin on the frame. People near the gym entrance turned. A man came jogging over and asked if I was okay, and all I could say was, "Look in the car. Please look in the car." He checked the back seat, then the floor, then under the seats. Nothing. No one. Nate arrived 2 minutes later, and police came not long after that. They searched the car, the parking lot, the area around the gym. They took the note. They asked if maybe someone at work was playing a prank, if I'd left the car unlocked, if I had any enemies. I could hear how thin it all sounded, even to them. No one found the truck. No cameras got a clean plate. No prints on the note. For a while, I thought maybe the message was just meant to scare me. Maybe there had never been anyone in the car. Maybe he slipped the paper in somehow when I was at the store and wanted me imagining the rest. Then, 3 days later, while cleaning out the back seat, I found a muddy shoe print on the carpet directly behind where I sit. My car had been vacuumed the weekend before, and I had not driven anyone home in months. The first time I noticed the same car behind me, I told myself I was being dramatic. It was a little after midnight, and I was driving back from a late shift at a restaurant on the edge of town. The roads were mostly empty, the kind of empty where every pair of headlights stands out. I only noticed the car because I turned off the main road, and it turned off too. That alone didn't mean anything. Plenty of people lived out my way. But then I made another turn. One I only took because I'd missed a pothole there the week before, and the car stayed behind me again. It wasn't speeding up. It wasn't tailgating. It just stayed there, 2 headlights at the exact same distance. I checked the mirror again. Dark sedan, older model. No stickers, no bright lights, nothing memorable. That almost made it worse. If it had looked strange, I could have given myself a clear reason to panic. Instead, it looked ordinary. By the time I reached the long stretch near the abandoned garden center, my hands were slick on the steering wheel. I was exhausted and scaring myself over another driver going the same direction. So I tested it. At the next stop sign, instead of going straight toward home, I turned right into a neighborhood I had no reason to be in. The sedan turned right too. That was the moment everything inside me dropped. It wasn't a sharp burst of fear. It was heavier than that. A cold certainty. I sat taller, locked my doors even though they were already locked, and kept driving through dark streets lined with sleeping houses. Porch lights glowed here and there, but no one was outside. Just my engine and the other one behind me. I took 3 more turns. Left. Right. Left again. The sedan matched everyone. I pulled my phone from the cup holder and thought about calling someone I knew, then the police. But what was I supposed to say? There's a car behind me? What if it turned off the second I called? Every option felt stupid until I glanced in the mirror and saw the driver's side window lower halfway. I couldn't see the face, just the shape of someone inside, one arm near the opening. That was enough. I called 911. The dispatcher answered, calm and tired, and I heard my own voice come out too high and breathless. I told her I thought a car was following me. She asked where I was, what kind of car, how long it had been behind me. I answered while making another turn I didn't need to make. The sedan made it too. Do not drive home, she said. Stay on the line. Head toward the nearest police station if you know where it is. I did, but it was 15 minutes away, and suddenly 15 minutes felt impossible. The dispatcher stayed with me while I drove back toward the main road. I kept checking the mirror, expecting the sedan to back off now that I was obviously panicking. It didn't. Still not too close. Still not aggressive. Just there. That calm distance had become the worst part. When I hit a red light near a closed pharmacy, the sedan stopped behind me. For the first time, it pulled a little closer, close enough that I could make out the front grille. One headlight was slightly dimmer than the other. Can you see the plate? The dispatcher asked. I adjusted the mirror and tried. That was when the driver's door opened. A man stepped out slowly. He wore something dark and started walking toward my car. Not running, not yelling, just walking. The light was still red. The cross street was empty. The pharmacy parking lot was empty. The dispatcher was suddenly louder, telling me to go through the light, and I slammed the gas. I shot through the intersection, nearly clipping the curb, and when I looked back, the man was already getting back into his car. He followed me again. At that point, the dispatcher told me an officer was heading to meet me in a gas station parking lot 2 miles ahead. She said to keep driving and keep my doors locked. My whole body had gone shaky. Then the sedan's headlights disappeared. For half a second, I thought I'd lost him. Then they came back, farther away now. He was hanging back. The dispatcher said sometimes once they realize police are involved, they try to break off. I wanted to believe her, but something in me knew he hadn't given up. The gas station finally came into view, bright and painfully normal. An officer's cruiser was angled at the entrance with its light bar flashing blue across the concrete. I nearly cried when I saw it. I pulled in too fast, braked hard, and the officer was already stepping out. The sedan kept going. It passed the station without even slowing down. The officer asked questions while another unit tried to locate the car, but I could tell from the way he spoke that he thought the worst part was over. He walked around my car with a flashlight, took my information, and told me I'd done the right thing by not going home. Then he stopped at the rear bumper and called me over. Tucked under my back wiper was a folded piece of paper. I know it had not been there when I left work, which meant he had placed it there while I was stopped at that red light. The officer put on gloves before opening it. Inside, in thick black marker, were 6 words. You weren't supposed to call anyone. They never found the driver. No useful cameras, no clear plate, nothing that led anywhere. For weeks, I checked my mirrors every night and stopped taking late shifts. I moved 3 months later and never told anyone the new address except family. What still bothers me isn't that someone followed me. It's how close he got without me realizing why. Because if that light had stayed red a little longer, if I'd hesitated one more second, I don't think that note was the only thing he planned to leave on my car.